Ron is reminding us of why we're here, and it's not to talk about games and COVID.
Talk about Star Wars.
Talk about Star Trek.
Looky, Senator. Decent Jedi arriving.
I will sign no treaty, Senator.
I am the Senate.
This is the way.
Alright, hello, it's 2021, it's January, it's the first of the year, and we are back here again, duly appointed to talk to each other about Star Wars and nothing else, which will please Ron. So there's 7 of us here today. We've got myself, Ricky, Tony, Ron, Alex, going a blank, Matt, and Will. My memory is so terrible. And so
fellow senators.
Hello, everybody. And
Hello.
we have usual agenda. We should do the Star Wars since last month thing first, which might go on a bit actually given that we've had Christmas since then. But then I thought we'll start looking at all those new future Lucasfilm projects, Star Wars stuff that was announced since last time out, which we didn't discuss because we was too busy with Mandalorian. And what was the other thing I put down? Oh yes, speaking of Mandalorian, there was the season 2 Gallery thing, which I don't know if everybody's seen or not. I was probably the first one of the group to see it last time out. So I watched it on Christmas Day. So hopefully everybody's seen that by now. Partially. Well, that's better than nothing. So we will do a usual round table and try and keep it relatively brief so that we get time to talk about everything else and discuss Star Wars interactions, goodies, merchandises and stuff like that since last month round. And we shall start with the first person on the list, which for me is Ricky.
Hello. Okay. Recently, my brother he was lucky enough to get a Xbox Series X, so I did encourage him to download Jedi Fallen Order, so he's been playing that, and so he actually got me back into playing Battlefront 2 online, which I hadn't touched in months, and so, we spent like a good 3 hours last week just playing Heroes versus Villains, and I just forgot how fun that game was, to play online with people. Obviously, it's funner having somebody else that to play with. But that's been pretty fun doing. Didn't really get much Star Wars stuff for Christmas. Probably because I have everything pretty much that I can need. No, not really. And that's pretty much been it. Just been playing that, and continuing the Clone Wars marathon or the entire franchise marathon. We're on the episodes with young Corky and his aunt and the poisoning of the children. So that's fun holiday times. So. But yeah, that's been pretty much it. I can't think of anything else that I've been doing.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks, Ricky. We're moving along the line. Tony.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So let's see. What have I been up to since we last spoke? Christmas.
Star Wars wise, not Germany. Yeah. Ain't got time for everything.
Christmas was not very Star Warsy, but I did get the art of the Mandalorian book, which was very nice. I've been paging through that one. A lot of good stuff. Stuff we've seen, at the end credits. But there's other articles and things in there. But yeah, it's a good book. Been continuing our Rebels rewatch. We're finishing up season 2. And what else? And I think that's it. Let's see, Comixology. I do the digital comics. I don't buy the physical copies. So they've been having like end of the year sales, and I picked up a bunch of Star Wars Adventures comics that I didn't have. They were very cheap, so I said, why not? So
those are fun.
Yeah, those are always good to page through. And I think that's it. That's about it. So not much, but there's always a little something.
Okay. I'm just actually looking at. I just made a note of that Comics one. Do you want to have a look at the UK one and see what the deal is? Okay. Ron. Hello, Ron.
Yeah, hello. Happy New Year, fellow
yeah,
senators. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
My Christmas haul posted in the chat. It's always easy Christmas being a Star Wars fan, so whatever is given to me is always most welcome. I think some of that is doubles, but there's a couple of new things. I didn't have any tiki mugs, so I'm quite pleased to have a Geeky Tiki R2 tiki mug. That's kind of cool.
Nice couple of salt and pepper things there, is it, as well?
Those aren't Star Wars. Those are just.
Oh, okay.
I knew you were going to go after.
Yeah. Go on.
The two books, I haven't cracked into them, but those were a nice haul. The Rebel Files and the Smugglers. Smuggler's Bounty. I forget what the Smuggler's one's called. And then because of COVID times, sure, you have to have one of these. Someone found a very cool Star Wars mask and hooked me with that. So I now have another Star Wars mask to go for these trying times. So yeah, that it was a fun Christmas. But yeah, I'm done with it. We're done with wearing the masks. So I'm happy to have a cool Star Wars mask, but I'm so over wearing masks. But have to wear them, so at least I can stay cool. Wearing the Star Wars mask though, recently on a small little trip, and I will say wearing the Star Wars masks does generate its number of cool mask, and then you have some interactions, and then find people that have just
See, that's why I haven't bought one yet.
Oh no! See, I get all sorts of walks of life asking me, "Oh, have you seen The Mandalorian?" So yeah, I get to interact with them and find out. I'm always interested in the younger people and their foray into Star Wars, and invariably, at least the three people that I sort of quasi on the spot quickly interviewed or whatever, their dad, their parents got them into it, and then they fell in love with it or came to enjoy it, kind of thing, whatever. So yeah, that seems to be a recurring theme, that if they are Star Wars fans, that they seem to have started with the OT, at least in my recent small sampling of younger 20-somethings, maybe late 20s, early 30 folks.
Yeah, I still want to meet. I keep saying this every time. I still want to meet somebody who's got into Star Wars purely through the sequel trilogy.
Oh, I think they're going to be
really interesting. They're out there, obviously, but it'd be nice to meet them both. They may not be young; they could be old, of course. Could be any age group. But it's nice to meet somebody who come in through that avenue. Okay. Right, we'll move on. Alex.
Hey.
Hey.
Sorry.
There he is.
Hey. So Star Wars wasn't very Star Warsy. I mean, Christmas wasn't very Star Warsy. My wife got me a pajama set, which is pretty awesome. But let me take back what I said about it not being very Star Warsy. Secret Santa sent me a model, and by Secret Santa I mean our friend William, our mutual friend William, sent me a model of the Death Star attack. And so this is the thing. Can you guys see this?
Oh, progress.
I opened up the box, and it's stack after stack after stack of Death Star surface. And I should have.
Aren't there?
It's 2 pages. Actually, it's one pamphlet. Right?
Are you gonna kit bash that with your Ewing, Alex?
I'm gonna try. There are different scales, but I'm always amazed by the vastness of Star Wars and how big things are. When you see these in the movie,
gun turret, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't realize how this is to scale.
How big they are. Well, yes.
You're going to need a couple hundred Geonosians to help you put that together.
and then I'll wipe them out. Yeah. So this is the model. Compared to my finger, this is how, just like human scale. Wow. But when you have these towers in comparison to
so it's everything's all in scale to each other.
Yeah. So if the X-wing is the size of the length of a bus, or maybe a long limo, this thing must be at least, in real life, must be at least 10 stories tall, because it's without the turret. So that's my Star Wars thing, and it's awesome.
what's the actual end result? Is it just I'd say is it the trench run kind of scene?
Yeah. It came with one ship.
You think it's a
That's
trench
cool.
run, or is it more like a surface run? It looked like it was going to be a surface run in the ship flying.
Well, the way that they it looks on the box, there's a floor and then a wall.
Yep.
So
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So that was a nice.
Get to paint any of it, do you? Anything?
I
painting?
don't know, dude. I mean, the surface is gray, right?
Yeah.
As I was saying that, I just thought that. I thought, what a stupid question.
No. It's not a stupid
But, I mean,
question
the
because
X-ring itself.
oh yeah, I'm gonna. I don't know how I'm gonna do it because I don't have paintbrushes that small. I might use ink pens or something to
Draw little
get into
people
the
in there.
into the little nooks and crannies and stuff.
Big
I'm gonna
smiley
try and
face.
see if this might be the day that this might be the time that I use what's that called? Fiber optics, yes. I may get a couple of fiber optic wires and hook them up into the engines and into the
Oh, cool.
into the cannons, green and magenta.
It's
That'd
like
be pretty
they,
cool to use some lighting and take some nice pictures with that. Make it
Yeah.
look
yeah, it's like they did with the Razor Crest when they showed that video at Celebration and they had the LEDs inside the engines.
Yeah. That's so that was a nice surprise, and I was, I'm I think I think that made my Christmas.
So
Awesome.
you
I was
started
returning
that
I was
because the U-wings finished, right? Dot.
I'm getting there.
Well, I could bring someone else up, Rob, but won't.
Yeah, but I haven't gotten another unopened thing.
No.
Maybe. Moving on.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll move on then. Matt, do you want to say anything? Don't have to.
Hello.
Yeah, it's your moment.
Oh, my moment. Okay. Well, I was meant to read Aftermath, but I haven't touched it since last month. And that's pretty much it. Back to you.
Right, thank you very much. Short
A
and
man
sweet.
of
That's what
man
I
of few
call that. Short
words.
and sweet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well done.
Who's left? There's somebody else. Oh, Will. Yeah. It's just changed the order. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go on.
No sweat. I actually, I should just say, I was just returning the favor to Alex for the Death Star kit, because he sent me earlier in the fall. He sent me a couple of really cool 3 models for Legion, and so the shipping to my neck of the woods is often expensive, especially from the U.S. So I'd say the materials that he spent was take that and multiply it by 10. For the shipping that he's probably spent to get to me, so I felt like I should have returned the favor. So thanks to Alex for the models for Legion. But yeah, hopefully you guys had a good Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody. I did have a good Christmas, Star Wars wise. I have a lot of family members, extended family, and of course I'm the Star Wars guy in the family. So I get dumped on all the good Star Wars merchandise at Christmas time. So I did get some books. I did get, Tony mentioned the Art of Mandalorian. I did get that one as well. I've got some Legion stuff again, and
how's that lightsaber? The lightsaber book. How's that?
Yeah, that one's awesome. I should post some pictures of that one. It was really cheap too. It wasn't that expensive. It goes through. It picks like. Maybe there's like 100 characters there and their lightsabers, and it shows them in great detail. And there's a nice index in there. So yeah, I'll post some pictures of that so you guys can take a look at it.
I've been wanting to pick that one up.
Yeah, it's the shape of the book is more horizontal than anything, so I guess it suits the form factor of the lightsaber. But that one's pretty cool. I did finish my 4K Star Wars collection of movies. And I've actually started going through those now. We, as a family, we got the PS5, so I can finally watch 4K movies. So yeah, I've been going through those. I watched the prequels first, and we're up to Solo now. So
would you say noticeable?
Yeah, for me it is.
Really? Yeah.
If my mom watched it, she was like, "Oh, that's some sharp picture." Like she wouldn't. But I will say this. I'll give you an example. So and Alex knows this example already, but in Revenge of the Sith, there's a scene where Anakin and Obi-Wan enter Grievous's hangar, And it's the scene when he says, I sense Count Dooku, and Obi-Wan says, I sense a trap. And next move, spring the trap. And
Spring the trap.
Yeah, and when Anakin moves towards Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan has this, goofy look on his face. But Anakin raises his eyebrows and does this very, wry grin. And I never noticed that before. I could never read that emotion from the actor before until I seen it in 4K. Now, you might even be able to pick it up, but I just thought it was such detail in 4K. It was awesome for me. Like I said, some people, they might say, meh, it doesn't do anything for me. But if you look at some of the things like the Naboo stuff, the Mustafar, the Coruscant City skylines, like there's just so much detail in the stuff.
Yeah. Do you have a high-end 4K rig? You have a high-end 4K TV, or
we got a Sony Bravia. I think it's X850. I think it is the model number. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Not just a 4K TV, just to have a 4K TV, but you do have a decent one. It sounds like. It's cool. I've often wondered it, and appreciate the info.
Yeah. But for sure, no. I like I said, I'm thoroughly enjoying those 4Ks, definitely. And the last thing I wanted to mention, and it's sort of Star Wars adjacent. I think I've already posted in the group, but I'm playing this game on the PS5. It's called Ghost of Tsushima. And like I said to many people, if you ever wanted to role play as a samurai, oh man, it's just a beautiful game, and it's all about honor and nobility, and you can easily extrapolate how Lucas was watching these samurai movies and just thinking about Jedi in a galaxy far, far away. It's just a beautiful game, and I'm just addicted to it.
Yeah, that game's on my list.
What was it called again?
It's called Ghosts of Tsushima, and it's in the 13th century, and it's when the Mongols invade the island of Tsushima. And I won't give away too much more than that, but it's definitely the hero's journey, and it's all about, like I said, it's all about honor and nobility, and yeah, it's just a beautiful game.
Cool.
Did you notice any different? Do you have Disney Plus, William?
We do. Yeah.
Is the 4K like significantly different on disc than on watching it on streaming?
Again, I would say yes. It's a marginal difference. I did compare. I did a compare and contrast the other night, and it is a marginal difference. I find things are a little bit sharper, a little bit clearer running from the disc versus the Disney Plus.
So in the compare and contrast, you can see it. But do you think if you were watching it and somebody said, "Oh, we're watching 4K Star Wars," but you don't know if it's disc or streaming, do you think you'd be able to tell which is which?
I don't think I would. I noticed. So I've done like looking at the two of them, and I noticed one thing that the difference between the two of them is sometimes the color palette is a little bit different between 4K between the Disney Plus and the streaming. Like it's like a different color for skin and textures and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wasn't it that like a Disney Plus, I think, or maybe it's the PlayStation? One of those doesn't have the HDR. I know what you're saying.
Actually, it's interesting you should say
or like
that.
or Dolby Vision, or one of those doesn't have it at the moment. I think I don't remember if it's Disney Plus or PlayStation. I think, so that might be the reason for the color difference.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is before I was anticipating getting the 4K Blu-rays, and I switched on that HDR, so that might be skewing my results as well, because before I didn't have that on, and I now have it on, so I should really go back and do I need to do this a bit scientifically and maybe switch that back off and then kind of look at it.
Yeah, because I think the HDR is supposed to make the colors pop, so that
they do.
Yeah.
Wait, does the 4K disc have the McClunky in A New Hope? Is it that version?
Haven't gotten there yet, but I would imagine so.
Oh, yes. Okay, excellent. Sorry, I'm just also, as you were talking, I wasn't listening. I was just looking at Comics on the Jig as well. We were just talking about that before we started about comics, digital comics.
I don't know if Marvel.
You say Blu-ray and he's on
top.
I'm so past. Yeah, I ain't got Blu-ray yet. I think I might just skip. I think I might just skip Blu-ray. I don't know what you guys do. I mean, well, 4K is 4K. Is 4K like Blu-ray plus sort of thing? I've lost the plot here. Is it technically Blu-ray plus 4K?
Well, 4K they call it Ultra HD, right?
Oh,
what the actual resolution is.
It's actually a DVD plus.
So what's Blu-ray then? DVD plus.
Yeah, I mean each subsequent thing is
a plus.
Is a plus. Yeah, I mean we could be like Laserdisc plus plus plus.
VHS.
VHS.
Yeah.
VHS. Yeah.
What is going
Depends
on?
how long. Yeah.
What is happening right now?
Excellent. Okay. Right, and for myself, I did actually, as people will know, I did actually get some Star Wars swag myself for Christmas, and it is, of course, the Rise of Skywalker official dictionary. I have actually got it, so you can hear it. Oh, video's on. Video's on. Can you see me? So
Yes.
you guys see me? Yeah. So anyway, just proof I'm not just taking stills from somebody else's stuff here, which I could do. I just didn't think of you just talking about lightsabers, Will, because you got Rey's lightsaber and that good stuff. And I was looking at that, I was thinking it's got blade length adjust as one of the settings on her.
Yes.
That's actually Skywalker. It's actually Luke's saber, I think that one, isn't it? I think.
I remember.
Have we ever seen anybody ever adjust their lightsaber size?
In Rebels.
Yoda's is smaller.
Rebels.
Oh yeah, Rebels. Yeah.
Did they?
Really?
Yeah, Kanan talks to Ezra about it.
Well, he talks about it, but he doesn't actually.
He does it. He actually does
He
it.
does it? Oh.
They're joking. Yeah, they're joking about Ezra's height, and they're on top of the Ghost. It's like the 4th or 5th episode into the series.
I was going to say,
And they're on
it's
top of
early in the series, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Then he shows them how to change out the AAA batteries that are in there.
You just got me thinking. I was just thinking about lightsabers. I mean, do all lightsabers? Obviously, they have the on-off switch, because obviously that'd be stupid. But what other kind of buttons and stuff? Do all lightsabers have the same kind of buttons on? They all have blade length adjustments and
I would think so,
FM radio built in.
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yoda's is
There was
smaller,
also
and one of Ahsoka's sabers is smaller than the other. So
Yes.
yeah.
But I mean, in terms
I'll
of
learn
buttons
something new every
and-
day. I just thought they were all the same, or not all the same length, but when you turned it on, it was whatever length it was. Like Ahsoka had a short one and a long one. I didn't realize you could change the length. I also remember learning recently, or not recently, but a while back, that there's like a sparring mode. So like when they're practicing against each other, you can not slice, accidentally get a good shot in and slice somebody's arm off or something.
I did not know that. Yeah, I did not know that.
It works.
Wow.
You left the safety on, Ezra.
You sound. Ron just did his best L337 imitation.
I held back the trust me.
But is that not every lightsaber is like that, has a sparring button? Like it's like weapons. Put
Who
your
got the
blasters
lightsaber
done.
book? They'll have to
Oh, well,
report
yeah,
him
exactly.
next
I'll have
month.
to get that one
Next Senate,
don't I?
yeah.
You have to show me some photos and stuff from it, Will, at some point. And,
Stephen, I love this. I love that you're talking about lightsabers, because it's one of the things that, I've always said that Star Wars is iconic in so many ways, not because of one thing, but because of so many things that it introduces into sci-fi, right? So you got the Star Destroyer, you got a planet-destroying battle station, you have X-Wings that open into battle configuration, you have TIE fighters that run on twin ion engines, you have the Force, you have Sith, you have all these things. But as far as lightsabers, it's one of those things that is so relatable and understandable, yet so freaking exotic. And when you have these characters in universe and every lightsaber is different, I imagine that Kylo Ren's lightsaber does not have a training mode. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think that his emitter probably doesn't take into account the potential that the crystal might explode at any moment. So maybe the dark side users don't, if he dies, he dies. They have that kind of mentality versus, Ahsoka, who might want to train a Padawan at some point and can blade adjust and activate parrying mode and stuff like that. So, but I remember very early on, when I was getting into Star Wars, that lightsaber was, my brother pointed out that one of the nuances that he found about the lightsaber was when Ben Kenobi says, your father wanted you to have this when you were old enough, and he gives Luke Skywalker the Anakin hilt. Luke, I guess, yeah, maybe Mark. I'm trying to figure out if it's a production issue or if it's a in canon thing. Luke holds out the lightsaber, arm's length, holds it sideways, and activates the blade, right? And it shoots up, right? But there's a heaviness when the blade activates. You can see his hand kind of dip a little bit towards the blade. And I was like, wait, my brother was saying, if this is a thing of light, then how does it have weight? And I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not light. Maybe it's plasma. Maybe, trying to find a real world explanation for it. But then in one of the games or one of the books, I think it was Cal Katarn or Corin Horn was walking through some dark area, and he could not use the lightsaber as a light source. So it was like a magical thing that just appeared to cut through almost anything, but it didn't give off light. So it was a lightsaber in name only, right? So that kind of stuff is just fascinating to me. Like you have a picture of Rey's lightsaber after TLJ, and it's broken in half. It looks like you could see charring around the band where she repaired it. So she basically took a sleeve, almost like the way that you would repair an exhaust pipe. She took a sleeve, put it over, welded it, and then bolted it, and then put a piece of rubber around the activation button. And I was like, that is so practical.
Isn't it crazy how they both have like makeshift lightsabers? Like Kylo Ren's, and then
that's right.
Rey's, like they both
leftover
paired together. So, yeah, they both have
leftover
ancient
crystals.
things that they've.
Is the dark saber in that book, Will?
It is. It is
Right.
indeed.
Does it say much about? I mean, you look at every time you look at it in the cartoons and also in Mandalorian stuff. It's got that sort of. It's like a river of flowing down it, isn't it? It's sort of like a mirror.
Yeah,
it's not a solid.
Stuff.
Yeah, it's not a solid blade. It seems to be just like energy contained.
And that's where the power comes from. It's like when you hold it and it shifts you back. It's like turning on a really powerful light bulb or light switch or something like that. It's all that energy you're trying to harness, like
That's
lightning
interesting.
in your hands.
That's something I've never thought about until you said it, Annex. But what is the difference in weight of a lightsaber? Lit and not lit.
I think there's something to Lucas had a mindset of if you didn't know how to use it, if you weren't trained in it, it's supposed to be a heavy sword and feel heavy. And I kind of think that's why in The Force Awakens you see Rey when she pulls it up, it's kind of heavy for her. She's wielding it, and even Finn, I think when he uses it, I kind of think it's sort of acted upon that it's a very heavy thing in their hands versus once you get trained with it, you can flit around like Ahsoka or Obi-Wan, Anakin. You're able to wield it properly, or you respectfully or knowledgeably, so to speak. So it's no longer as heavy in your hands. I seem to recall there's something to Lucas having that sort of mindset in how the sword would work. Whether he had that in 75, 76 with A New Hope and how Luke turns it on for the first time and being heavy in his hands or whatever, might be a little bit of that Lucas.
I think about it. A lot of that scene is like the cut from putting the rotoscope. To work.
Yeah, there's that too.
You get that jump, yeah.
There's that's one of the things, right? But I remember Kanan telling Ezra, Sabine, when Hera is like, "Hey, look, if you're gonna train her properly. Give her a lightsaber." Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, it's too dangerous," and she's like, "I can handle it," and so on. But he says that she's like, "It's heavier than I expected it to be," and then he says, as they're parrying, he says something to the effect of they attract each other. The blades pull at each other.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah.
Is that do you think that was a mistake in storytelling?
It's a bit like two magnets sort of stuff when you've got them.
Right.
But I always felt that the energy of a lightsaber. The energy of a lightsaber.
How many movies have we seen where they cross blades and they're kind of just stuck there and they're like
That
they're
is
pushing
true.
and pulling at the same time.
Yeah,
you
they
know,
don't
like-
slide down like two metal
No.
blades or two plastic blades in the yard or whatever, where they constantly sliding down. I remember remarking about the lightsaber blade and the Beskar spear or whatever, how it doesn't slide down like you would think it would in a real world sort of situation, whatever. So yeah, there's got to be something to the not the attraction aspect, but when they connect, they connect and stay connected there.
Is there anything in the book?
That is
Will,
crazy.
weight? Anything about weight?
I haven't. I've just flicked through.
Sorry,
it
we're asking
so
all the
far.
questions now about the Bible of
Yeah.
lightsabers and.
Well, we can do a show and tell if you want, but I think we'd probably best to discuss to move on. But I mean, yeah, I'll certainly send some pictures and get you guys an idea of what the book is all about for sure.
You got me thinking now. But do lightsabers give off heat? Could you put a lightsaber on and keep warm?
That is, that changes.
If you put it in someone's arm or their chest, yes. And they're on fire.
Yeah. I mean, on its own, does it give like? Because like, if you move something that's got heat through air, then you've got that friction, haven't you?
Well, on Fallen Order, you can use the
anyway.
lightsaber as a flashlight.
That's true.
They use it in the
I
Super
was
Trilogy
kind of
movies too.
I always got the sense that not only like of the weight, but not that it's necessarily a weight to it, but maybe it's power. It's like almost like a vibration, sort of like when you hold a power tool. You know, like when you're holding a power tool, there's a weight to it. But then you turn it on, and then obviously your arm's kind of like you gotta kind of get a tighter grip on it. You know,
like a chainsaw or something.
Yeah, you know. So I always felt it was more not that it was a weight when you turned it on, but it was just the power that was coming from it.
Yeah, that works.
Well, it's energy's movement, and trying to contain that.
Yeah. So that's kind of the sense I got from it. Not so much, but I mean maybe there's a weight to it, but I just always felt like it was the movement, it was whatever energy was coming out of it, the power from it that that made it a little more difficult to hold.
But then also, like, if you watch any like old movie that has like, or even new stuff that has like, I crafted the sword, it's perfectly balanced. You know, like once that blade comes out, it's just the weight.
Hattori Hanzo,
yeah. Like once that blade comes out, then you're distributing the weight. You know, there's a force at the end that wasn't there before, where you just had this heavy hilt, and now you have the heavy hilt, and then you have this energy balancing it out on the other side. So that could also shift the way it feels.
You know, the other thing that. This is like Steven just triggered all my lightsaber questions, so I'm going to ask you guys to help me out. There's a point when Darth Vader meets, he's like, you should not have returned, and Obi-Wan's like, only a master of evil, Darth. When they Obi-Wan is trying to make it back to the Millennium Falcon, and he's kind of being stealthy and sneaky, and he looks down the corridor, and Vader is just standing there, just waiting for him to approach him. And then when he sees him, he gives up the ghost, and Obi-Wan stands up to his full height and walks towards Vader, and they have the exchange. Obi-Wan turns on his lightsaber, and it's slow.
Yeah,
the blade doesn't
say that. Yeah,
the blade doesn't snap out. It's like, right?
Oil. Need more oil.
Oil can.
And that's, at first I thought that was a fluke, but then in ESB, when Darth Vader is waiting for Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet. Luke Skywalker, you don't necessarily see it, but you hear it. He extends his blade. It's not, doesn't snap out. It's like, and you don't see it, but it's almost like a threat display, right? Because and now now words are meaningless, and now we have to fight. So
it's kind of like a visual, like he's unsheathing his sword, kind of.
Yeah. So is that something that is that blade users or Jedi or Sith or anybody who uses a lightsaber, is that like something that is traditionally meant to intimidate? Or is that just a style?
There's some kind of connection between the user and the kyber crystal, since that is your crystal, so it might feed off of like what you're doing.
I was
at
going to
that
make an
point,
old guy
you know?
joke that it took him a while for the blade to go out. Or whatever. And then I went,
I thought that was going to come.
and then
I thought that was
and then I
gonna
went
pop
to that.
up.
Well, maybe he hadn't used it in a while. That it takes a while, but he just used it in Rogue One. So how quickly did it light up in Rogue One? Because it needs to be the same.
No, I think he's talking about Obi's, right?
No, Vader.
Vader's standing there with it on.
Vader's standing there with his lit. So you're saying Obi-Wan's?
Yeah, and ESB Vader. It's the silhouette. It's that perfect, iconic silhouette of Vader, and then the blade kind of extends from his weight.
I like what somebody said. I'm thinking it's Lucas in the early days thinking, it's kind of like an unsheathing, that it's a slow, drawn out sort of
samurai,
type of unsheathing type of. But that got lost or wasn't thought about subsequently. And everything lights up real quick. Because if you think of
at that point, it's an older weapon, maybe.
It could be that. Well, but how does it work in the Clone
3, Anakin and Obi-Wan, when they're fighting, they're like throwing them out really quick. They doesn't even know what's on. And then
what movie did they kill Snoke in? Because she throws him the lightsaber and he clicks it on, clicks it off real quick, and stabs a guy in the eye. So
Ahsoka was doing similar, wasn't she, in Mando?
And when
quick.
When he opens, when Luke cuts off the Wampa's hand, I guess it has to be a display type of, because he activates
some dials on there.
When in A New Hope, when they're dueling, when Vader and Obi-Wan are dueling, there used to be, I don't know if they fixed that, but there used to be the effects, like you could see like
the rotoscope.
His saber would kind of almost blink in and out,
when it was pointing straight at the
says your powers are weak, old man. You know what I mean? So I always kind of figured it was like his saber just hadn't been used, or it was it was like old, or I don't know, something. I knew it had to do with the effects, but I just figured in story maybe it was something to do with just.
Well, it took us a while to learn the effect aspect of pointing straight at the screen. They didn't have a great way of doing it, or for it to work, kind of thing. But we did sort of interpret something because we tried to interpret everything into it. Or your powers are weak, old man, and his blades fading out there, or something was. We were looking for anything and everything back in the day.
That's how beautiful is that, right? That we can take a practical effect deficiency and tie it into dialogue.
Well, to your point though of the slow lightsaber extension, you're right. Do we see that anywhere else, or is there something to that, or was that just we got to chalk that up as a production thing in '76?
I think it might be it's maybe a lost of one of those lost techniques that the last two guys that use lightsabers in the original trilogy are the remnants of the old Jedi Order. It's one of those things where it's lost to antiquity, where Rey will never reveal her lightsaber slowly, where Kylo Ren.
I like it, but we have Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars, and I don't think his always lit up slowly like that, like you're suggesting. So
okay.
So why then? And
you got sand in it.
I think we're hard pressed to. I think we'd be hard pressed.
I like the explanation that already given. My explanation was going to be something like maybe it's just a viewing angle that, obviously not the production. I mean, our viewing perspective that makes it look like and sound like it's extending slowly, and that it's not actually. It's just a visual illusion of sorts. That if you look at it from a certain angle, that sound like it's.
But the sound effect, well. Ricky got it right, because if the way that Alec Guinness had to reveal his lightsaber was he basically pointed the end of the blade, which had no reflective tape on it, and slowly move his wrist so that he reveals. It looks like the blade is extending, but what he's actually doing is exposing more of the reflective tape to the bright light that they had on set that was supposed to come off that screen. So it is from a point of view. If you look at it dead on, it's going to look literally. It's going to look like it's off.
So what about?
It could be something too, where it depends on how you push the button. Like if you push it like softly, it'll go really slow.
I like to.
Gently rub your
Just
finger
caress
over
it.
it. You know.
or else they gets the hose again.
I'm telling you, if I was a Jedi, I would just turn off the other guy's lightsaber with my mind.
Exactly. I always thought that the way Obi-Wan was able to point in this direction and make stormtroopers hear something, I always felt that the duel between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader on the Death Star was just fraught with them distracting each other that we didn't see, we couldn't hear, but they were just doing their best to put things in each other's head to break their focus just long enough to be able to swing your lightsaber and cut the guy in half and stuff. So to me, the lightsaber battle in A New Hope always had multiple dimensions, you know. So when Luke Skywalker meets Vader on Cloud City, I knew for sure. I mean, not as a storytelling element, but as a kid watching, I was like, "There's no way Luke is going to survive this." But they can't kill him off. How's he going to get out of this? When he had him, you're beaten. Do not let yourself be destroyed. I was like, "What's Luke going to do?" And then Vader turns off his lightsaber and just starts getting into this kid's head, and I was like, "Oh man!" So, look, it's the technical aspect of all this stuff is in hindsight we look back and we're like, well, there's a point of view aspect to it, but
So
I still remember that feeling, you know.
What's great in this?
I was going to say real quick, as a way to maybe segue into the Obi-Wan show, I'm wondering how the Obi-Wan show is going to shed new light on the A New Hope duel. Like, is it going to, because I know they haven't wanted to go back and change the fight in any way, but I'm wondering, like with the new show, how is that going to make the fight, the way that it's slower, is something that's going to happen in Obi-Wan's show, especially if they do meet again. Is that going to, I guess make it more realistic, I guess, in a sense, that it is a slower fight.
You just read my mind is exactly what I was thinking, because I like I said, I watched Revenge of the Sith, I think it was yesterday, and I was just looking at the very end of that fight, and they're fairly evenly matched. But then if you refer back to the dialogue in A New Hope, he says to him, "Your powers are weak, old man," and he says, "Yeah, should not have come back." So I was thinking, is Darth Vader gonna trounce Obi-Wan? Like, is he really gonna give him a run for his money? Like, or are they gonna be a game once again evenly matched? Because it's is it only 5 years or 10 years after Revenge of the Sith that this series takes place?
5.
I think it's like 10.
I think it's 10.
So, is he gonna, like he said, when I left you, I was but the learner, but now I am the master. So is he referring to when he initially met him on Tatooine, or is he referring when I left you, I was the learner? So when you left him was on Mustafar. Which is it, right? Like I'm kind of curious, like what's the power levels there?
Yeah, and the thing is that on Mustafar, Obi-Wan left him. He didn't leave.
That's right. Anakin became Darth Vader.
If you're taking it, if you're taking it like literally, like the one that left was Obi-Wan.
That's right. That's right.
But I mean,
I just hope there's a higher ground. It more
like when we last left off, But
well, then he says Obi-Wan tells him like he's more machine than man now. So like, does he damage Vader even more to the point where we can see him in the back to tank in Rogue One? Like maybe he has to go in there more now.
Well,
maybe he cuts his legs off.
How does he know that?
I kind of finally answered that question for myself in just watching Revenge of the Sith, and I'm like, well, yeah, obviously he cut his arm and his legs off, and he was already missing like the other, arm. So I guess if he sees him walking around, he knows it's him, and he's back and around. Obviously, he's going to be more machine than man,
Well, I mean, he's
basically just a torso with a head, He's
thanks to Obi-Wan.
Stuff,
He's got legs still. They're up to his knee. So
That's what speaks volumes to the what I like to call the Star Wars model of storytelling, where something comes along or something happens. It's a throwaway, you fought in the Clone Wars type of, or with my father type of line, but then you can somebody can create something. So this Kenobi series, I think, has the power to do just that. That we thought it was, for the longest time, it was Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope, and that was the 2 points. But now apparently there's going to be something in between there, and that's the exciting aspect of the Star Wars storytelling, that they tell us something very, very cool. I have very high hopes and confidence that they will tell us something very, very cool that ties those two together, makes those things work, and makes the lines in Return of the Jedi work as well, that adds to all of this lore that we've been sitting on for 40 plus years or whatever, and changes our view of it, much like Rogue One did with the Rebellion, and how we thought it was a cohesive at least I did, thought of all those years it was a cohesive thing, whatever. We watched Rogue One, and like they were on the verge of scuttling the whole thing. So yeah, I very much look forward to the Kenobi series doing something similar in that vein.
Yeah.
Maybe not skewing my how we think of things, but just making us aware and opening our eyes to viewing it or seeing, oh wow, there was something else here to that.
Well, just look at Ahsoka in Clone Wars. So we thought the last time that Anakin and her saw each other was on those steps in front of the temple, and we know they met a couple times after that. And they battled. So I mean, the more stuff they put out, the more the story gets expanded, which I'm fine with. I mean, I would love to get a rematch between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and have him have the higher ground this time.
Yeah. That's the privilege we get as original trilogy fans or Clone War fans. People watching it for the first time as it unfolds. That's why I'm a big proponent of release order for anything like that, because you get those moments if you know that they meet somewhere else. Once the Kenobi series out there, and the new a next generation of fan knows that story point is in between there, they're not going to have the same viewpoint. They're not going to have the same reverence, maybe, perhaps, whatever. Their view of Star Wars and the Star Wars story is going to be different than what ours was for 40-some years. Ours is going to be at the same point or whatever, because we'll be at the same place, whatever. But that's all they will ever know. They will never have this timeline of in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope for those two. They will always have a Kenobi thing in the middle there, whatever. But I really think that's what it quintessentially kind of could boil down what it means to be Star Wars storytelling, because I don't really think anything else does that, has that unique nature of its storytelling method built into it, because everything is always is always so planned out, or is a book type of thing or whatever, and I don't want to say retconning, but the origin story type of thing. I guess Marvel's kind of done some of that to go back and do an origin story to get more story built into something.
Yeah.
Ron, do you think let's say you're watching the all the movies with the kid with you. Do you go from episode 3 to episode 4, or do you go to Solo after episode 3 and then Rogue One and then A New Hope, or do you just go from 3 to 4? Like, what would you guys do?
That's a.
For me, I would for sure go Revenge of the Sith for sure to Rogue One. Solo is just optional, like if you want to throw it in there or not. Like I do, because sort of just completist.
Yeah.
But I mean, Solo seems optional, but Revenge of the Sith to Rogue One for me is definitely, that's now part of the chronology. So
I'll contend that the same sort of release order fun that is Revenge of the Sith, and then having some time expand and going to A New Hope and getting the crawl, the Rebels striking from a hidden base have won their first, that to a new fan, if you were rolling it out in that sense, whatever, they get wait, what happened in between there? And well, let's finish the story. And then, you could give them the same sort of, and here's what happened in between there. I don't think either one's right or wrong. I think they're both on par for the same amount of impact. Because, right, if you give Rogue One in between 3 and 3 and 4 like that or whatever, you help to fill in. It'd be interesting to hear that fan's perspective on things, because they're filled in. Basically, they got a 3.5 in there between the two, and just it continues the story for them. I don't think there's anything wrong with either one.
Yeah.
Solo.
Yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's just.
I think until we get something on screen with Darth Maul in live action, like kind of a sequel to Solo, then you'd probably skip it and watch it after, maybe.
Yeah, because right, Maul would confuse the heck out of it, right?
There's
If you're
watching,
you're watching that,
But see,
you're
the
like,
other
wait,
thing
what?
is that like Solo, and even if you do sequels to Solo and it has Maul, that whole storyline, as far as I can tell at the moment, it doesn't really affect what we consider to be like the Skywalker saga.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's
It's kind of like an
Rogue
an
One.
aside. That's why I said Solo's it's optional, because it doesn't really have any effect on the saga.
Like
I would
Solo is
contend-
actually
Rogue
like
One-
a spin-off. Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
optional,
I mean-
and should be optional, because if somebody watches that in a continuation kind of thing, or whatever, they could be confused, constantly waiting for it as they watch 4 and 5 and say, wait, what happened to the guy? There was somebody in that had a lightsaber in that Solo movie you showed me, and I was waiting for him, and he never, what was that all about? So that might be a reason why not show Solo, because it could, lend itself to confusion, or just a level of anticipation that will never get fulfilled as you watch 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Solo, like all the Solo stuff, it doesn't really continue from Revenge of the Sith, and it also doesn't lead into A New Hope in any way. It's just
it's
kind
a
of
Star
its
Wars
own
story.
thing.
Yeah, it's a
Unless
Star
you're
Wars
watching
story.
like Rebels
so
after watching Solo, I guess.
It just tells you about that character. It gives you a little bit about that character. So I think you
Solo-
hold off Solo, and Rogue One is dealer's choice.
Yeah, I think Solo is truly a standalone. And I got the sense when they first rolled out the lineup of movies and shows that they were going to put out, way back when, with Kathleen Kennedy, and she's saying it all matters, it all counts. I think the intent was to have, they didn't start calling it the Skywalker saga until after Solo performed the way it did, which I think it got a raw deal. But I think that the intent was to have anthology movies that were like slice of life type of shows, and I think Solo, and maybe along those lines, also origin stories for Solo, for Han Solo, for Leia, for Princess Leia had a whole career as a senator before she appears in A New Hope. So I get the feeling that that's what they're going to do with Lando. They're going to go back to that formula of
just going to say there's still no hope. I mean, there's no sign of any continuation of the Solo story in at least in the next couple of years.
I think that's fine. I have absolutely no problem with that.
You don't think he's going to show up in the Lando series?
Well, that's a good chance of that.
I think you're going to have to have that happen.
It'll be a Boba Fett. Yeah. It'll be a Boba Fett Mandalorian type of a thing where he shows
up.
The
bummer part is you have the actor. They
have him available.
They signed him on, and he's young, and he looks like Han in that movie or whatever. So if you get farther and farther away from that, and he doesn't look like it, then either he doesn't look the same, or you have to get somebody else. And I was excited that they hired a young guy that looked like Han at work.
Yeah,
to make some movies, to take it from there.
We know they have the Jabba's Palace set, even if it's in the volume for Mandalorian. I mean, they can.
That is true.
That story then.
Yep.
I think the chances for more Solo are a lot higher than they were 2 years ago, though. I mean, what did they announce? 10 shows, 11 shows. So, they can have one that they can take a bit of a risk on,
and they also need to be like mini-series type shows, or like 1 or 2 seasons, or just like Kenobi's going to be like limited, right?
Yeah. And
Just
for all
telling
the negative attention that Solo got when it was released, I mean, I think it's really grown in popularity, and I honestly never hear anybody really, say they didn't like it. Yeah. If anything, it's the opposite. They've been surprised how much they liked it when they kind of had no interest or didn't think they would like it. So
sure.
So I think it's really just a matter of time before we see more.
The idea that people are like, oh, why is this movie necessary? whenever I hear that, I'm like, why is anything necessary? This is to entertain. This is for people to consume as they will. So
Yeah.
I think that Solo was unencumbered by any of the other Star Wars stuff. So what it did, what we saw on screen, I don't know what the Lego movie guys had in mind, but what we saw on screen was basically just, look, this is Han Solo. This is, it's an origin story.
But
Yeah,
I like what we got in Solo. Like I mean,
sure.
I mean, to go back to, it doesn't really fit into the Skywalker quote unquote saga, but it still does fit in the overall story. You do have, characters that it's showing the origins of kind of the rebellion again, like, Rogue One did, with the MP's Nest and all that stuff. So I mean, it does still tie into the overall thing. So I really do hope we get that story fleshed out and finished.
Yeah.
In the
Me too.
future.
He
I
he
wouldn't
kept,
mind a show. I wouldn't mind
he,
seeing Alden and the rest of them on the show.
another opportunity to shine. He kept talking about.
I think if they put him in the Lando show, that would definitely be a test to see if people are ready for more.
Yeah.
You put him in for an episode or two.
I mean, I wouldn't mind a series
and
with
then-
Emilia Clarke or a movie. To do that whole.
Yeah. That's another good one.
I can't see how you could go wrong. You throw him into a cool Lando episode in a cantina somewhere, man. That's just you're just printing money that way. Like I can't see them not turning that away.
I want to see Harrison.
That's a megaphone to negativity, right? You do that in the positive, all the positive stuff. The haters will still cry or whatever. What do we need? And they ruined Han and kind of stuff like that, or whatever. But yeah, I agree. You put that in the Lando show, they'll hear lots of positive, and find something to create a Han series if they haven't. I can't imagine that they're not trying to think of something already. I've said this before. As long as they're not making content just to make content, and they hold it with the reverence that it needs to, and they find a good story to tell or a good way to tell a story over multiple seasons, or like Kenobi, where it's a one and done, but it's many episodes. It's like a long format movie broken up. I'm all for that to get more fleshed out character fun for all of these characters that we know and love. I really look forward to something like that.
Hypothetical question: Book of Boba Fett. If they did decide to put, Han Solo in an episode or something, do they go with Alden or do they go with the younger? Do they go with the older rendered Alden, or do they go with the younger Harrison?
Well, is it a
It's got to be
flashback thing,
Alden.
or is it?
If it's the time it is, like they did with Luke, they had to make a younger Luke. Like, would they make a younger Harrison Ford, or would they just make an older Alden?
It depends on what the book is. Is it flashback? What timeline?
That's a good
is it
question.
Mandalorian, or is it happening back?
It's exactly the timeline that it's at, like 5 years after.
I would love with Luke Skywalker in the Mandalorian. I think that you can duplicate young Mark Hamill, right? I think because Luke wasn't necessarily what you know about Luke, or what makes Luke recognizable isn't necessarily his face or the way he looks. It's his how he carries himself, his aura, his cloak, his lightsaber, his belt buckle, the one hand. I think you can take Aaron and not be encumbered by any of that stuff. So you can take Alden Ehrenreich, and put him into the Book of Boba, and they can just slide him in there, no problem. He's already been established as Han Solo. I would prefer that. There's a debate. Let me just finish this, Will. There's a debate about recasting and CGI, this, that, and the other thing. I think recasting is the way to go as far as creating a new direction for new Star Wars fans. It's impractical to think that we take our old stars like Billy Dee and Han Solo and continue to de-age them, even though the technology is there. I think if you introduce old characters in a new face, as long as the personality is there, as long as these actors can carry themselves. There were moments in Solo where I was like, that's Han Solo, that's Harrison Ford. And there were
That's
other moments
Chewbacca.
where I was like, yeah. Well, Chewie, Chewie's
No one,
Chewie, right?
no one talks about how they de-aged Chewbacca and recast him. No one knows about
Or
that.
he definitely lost some bulk in between Revenge of the Sith and Solo, right? Because Peter Mayhew was tall. I don't want to say lanky because he was a big guy, but Chewbacca was kind of small shouldered. They put it was either during the Tarful days or I can't remember exactly when. But those Wookiees were so big.
They were basketball players, Australian basketball players.
Yeah.
With all these shows, the slate that they have, if Chewbacca's not in any of those shows, I'm going to be disappointed because that's such an easy cast to put. And then it's Chewbacca;
Yeah.
he can be like the threat,
Yeah.
or Armaz, or some of these CGI characters, or some of the puppet characters. Like I would love to see them pop up throughout different things. I mean, you don't need to have the shoulder bump with the "I don't like you." You don't have to have that every show. But I mean, I wouldn't mind it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see kind of a fluid connection between all the series. Some kind of
Well, there are some.
Yeah.
Some characters are easy to bring back, aren't they? It doesn't matter who's inside them, does it? It's C-3PO, Chewbacca,
Well, yeah, I mean, we got a
R2,
protocol droid, Mando.
Stormtroopers. Yeah.
Jyn Erso. I mean, Cassian.
Oh,
maybe
yeah,
maybe he's scouting her out. Maybe he's because they know all about her. They know where she's to. Maybe that's part of his mission at the end of his series is that he's trying to find where Jyn is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of tracking down, Galen and stuff. Oh,
Yep.
I'm excited for that show. That sizzle reel they showed looked awesome. And
I
I
was
just
hoping
wonder
we'd
if
see. On that note, I
Okay.
was hoping we'd see Emphas Nest in the Andor show.
Yeah, that'd be cool too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they
'Cause
would have
it
been
takes
part of the
place after
rebellion.
It takes place after Solo, and then she's part of the early rebellion. And so
And
is
she's
Andor,
a
so-
she's a young actress. It's an unexplored
Yeah.
character. That would be
she's
be great.
aged since Solo to this, so it kind of lines
So
up.
season- Season 1 of Andor, are we going to have like flashbacks like we did season 1 of Mando? You think that's going to be like a thing
I
they're
think
going to
so.
use?
I'm sure we probably will.
I just want to
Is it
see
more
where
than one
fake Pablo
season
comes
then? Is it more than one
Well,
season?
he's in this fight since he was 6 years old, right? So we're gonna get stuff.
Yeah, he's going to be 6 years old.
There's a Disney Channel Saturday morning Andor version where he's a kid.
Oh,
They can do that. Wacky slapstick teenage humor. On the same sort of note, I'd like to see put this positive, and it would make a lot of sense. Could be fun, let's say, to have a Lando series where Billy D is Lando talking about the Battle of Tanab and rubs his chin and the thing goes fuzzy or whatever, and then we see Glover as Lando kind of thing, whatever, where they get both of them.
There's been speculation. There's been speculation that they haven't really given any information about the Lando show. That it could be a young Lando, old Lando show.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Again, it gets back to if they have the way to tell the story, or whatever. But you have the actors, the fans I would think would love it. I think that could be a win-win across the board.
I think a Lando show would be like tons of fun. That's
yeah,
gonna be.
You could go all over the place
right.
with stories,
Yeah,
and you don't have to be beholden to a lot of story. You don't have to fit into a lot of things. You don't have to fit the universe, but you could tell all sorts of different types of stories with that series.
Steven, do you have the list of all the shows that are slated?
I do. Should I go for them?
What have we talked about? Yeah,
So
go
I've just
for
eaten some sweets.
Are you scoffing a biscuit?
And now I was having some sweets. Some Haribo's.
How awesome would it be? I mean,
We didn't mention Rogue Squadron, by the way. But anyhow,
not yet.
No, I'll just quickly whiz through them. So, excuse me. We have Rogue Squadron, which is the next Star Wars feature film. Then we've got the untitled. Oh, I'm never going to say this right, am I? Taki Watiti film.
Taika Waititi.
Taki Watiti. Yeah, that one. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about that one. That's a brand new Star Wars feature. It says. I suppose it is a film.
It's rumored that one's Dawn of the Jedi, which is the Dark Horse. I think it was 2012 to 2014 was they did a couple of mini series of stories, which was 25,000 years prior to the Battle of Yavin, and it's all about the formation, like the early beginnings of finding out about the Force and putting together a lightsaber and all that stuff. It's pretty interesting.
The Isla and what's the other, that whole thing, right?
Well, we got Obi-Wan, which we've discussed, Ahsoka, Rangers of the New Republic, Lando, and Endor. I was going to say Andor, the Acolyte, which I'm quite excited about, Bad Batch. Visions, Star Wars Visions, but that's short animated stuff, and we're pleased to know that there's Joy's story continuing. Well, that's about it, really. Joy's story and Visions don't really get much discussion, really, do they? Just animated bits stuck in there at the end. I'm saying, is that Joy's story?
That Bad Batch is animated, and it can be discussed because it looked gorgeous.
I did. It looked right, just like the Clone Wars, didn't it? Really,
it was gorgeous.
No difference, really. I mean, I was watching this sizzle reel, and I couldn't quite tell how much it was new and how much it was old, because it just looked exactly just like Clone Wars, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Is that the first one to? I'm just thinking earlier. Is it what is next on D+?
I think that's next, right?
It's got to be the next thing, isn't it?
Because it looks like it's done.
Which one?
Bad Batch.
Yeah, Bad Batch is the next stuff, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so when's our next new bit of Star Wars we get on screen?
I don't think it's
they haven't announced.
The cinema is the Rogue Squadron, but the next series I don't think it's until the Book of Boba, which is not till next Christmas.
Oh man,
yeah, that's kind of
coming.
We'll get Bad Batch before that, I think.
We will.
That's what I'm asking. I thought somebody said Bad Batch, so we think we get to watch Bad Batch
will be
this summer.
next, but they haven't said when. But it should be soon,
right.
I would imagine. The next couple of months, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously not January. So I don't know when the next kind of they try and do it to try and get
I was
more.
going to say, yeah.
When's a good time to do it strategically? I don't know.
Well, they're riding off of they just announced a bunch of stuff and The Mandalorian happened, so let that chatter die down, if you will, and then they could announce that, when do they need to announce something coming out to keep things talking on the internet and buzzing about? Yeah, release it for the summer as a thing to watch in the summer, right? They could release it whenever, I guess. It doesn't.
I don't know if they can leave it go to the summer, do you? I think that's a long time. It's a long time in streaming that world.
When did Clone Wars start last
February,
week?
Wasn't it? February?
It was
February,
March, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Right.
So I would think pretty soon they'll announce that Bad Batch is starting. Maybe I know they're really loading up on the Marvel shows coming up.
Yeah, that's going to take them through the better part of the year. I was looking at the release schedule.
They're still trying to finish those too.
But they've got them staggered for the better part of the year. I don't think they're too concerned about not having a Star Wars live action series ready for the fall, because I think that they feel like that's going to carry them through. And then that's fine, I guess, because look what we have after this year. We've got the Book of Boba, the Obi-Wan series, and the Cassian series, and the Ahsoka one that'll probably follow on those three. So we'll be locked and loaded next year. This year is probably
next year is going to be stacked.
Yeah.
So is there not going to be a Mando season this year? I'm assuming it was going to start in November.
They haven't even started filming. They haven't started filming that yet. No.
Yeah, I seem to think we've determined that there's going to be two shows, Book of Boba and Mando Series 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Book of Boba is going to end up being first because of COVID and everything, whatever. Mando is going to get pushed.
Yeah, I think otherwise we would have probably had Mando first and then have Book of Boba come out. Okay, that kind of makes sense then.
Yeah.
It's a relatively lean year then for Star Wars in terms of.
Well, you got the High Republic coming out, so that's going to be a significant amount of stuff they're putting out. They're going to try to push that era.
Yeah.
Yes.
The High Republic
I don't pay attention to anything else in D+, but I'm presuming, as you're saying, they are pushing some other new content out as well.
Production's kind of slow for everyone, so.
Yes, that's true. They just need to bring back the holiday special on D+ to generate some. Any point in time, they can just put that in there. Yeah, 4K version, so that Will can go through it and compare it.
Viewing party.
Do you guys
Yeah.
think that? Do you guys think that Rogue Squadron seems to be the one that's scheduled for theatrical release? Do you think that's going to happen, or will they just do what Wonder Woman did and limited theatrical release and then put it right to Disney Plus? I think Disney Plus is the way to go for entertainment, Star Wars entertainment for the foreseeable future. You know,
I mean, regardless I know that there's been like issues with theaters, becoming angry because their stuff is on demand and it's in theaters, so it's kind of
Patty Jenkins. Yeah, Patty Jenkins had an issue with that because she's like, I didn't make a movie for a TV release. You understand?
But really, like, I'm not going to go to the theater right now. I'm probably not going to go next year until everything completely clears up. So I don't care how much they're going to charge to watch that Patty Jenkins movie. I'm buying it if I can't go to the theater.
Yeah.
I'm
just wondering how much.
Exactly.
How much of this?
I'm curious about what the next theatrical release will be.
It has to be that one.
Yeah, I was just wondering how much of this 2021 lean year, should we say, for Star Wars is directly related to the coronavirus, or is just a bit of some meetings being delayed a bit and time lapse and so on. Is there a plan?
I think
coronavirus.
I think the Obi-Wan series was due to kind of follow up Mando season 2, but that had its own delays. They completely rewrote the script, I believe. So I think that Obi-Wan should have been now or soon. Then of course you layer COVID on top of all that, and then that just pushes their plans back. So like I said, I think they're comfortable having Marvel bear out the rest of this year. And then next year I'll get our big year of back-to-back stuff.
You don't think Mando series 3 season 3 was related to COVID? That they would do a Mando, and then once Mando ended, then do Book of Boba? If COVID wasn't a thing, then I think they would have done season 3, and then it ends, Christmas time or December, and then Book of Boba could start right back up and keep us hooked to watching that. Not that they need us hooked. I'm not sure what their revenue model is, because it's not like there's ads or anything on the Disney Plus to keep us hooked or keep us watching and coming back to it. But I kind of think that's where it was going to happen, or what the timeline would have been if COVID not been in the mix.
Does anybody know the timeline for Rogue Squadron? Is that supposed to be post Jedi, or is that pre Return of the Jedi?
I thought I heard it was post Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. Because Kathleen Kennedy says they're introducing a new era. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not spelled out, is it, implicitly, but it's highly suggested.
Yeah,
I think is the.
Okay, that makes me even more interested.
Yeah, anyway. So we might have Rogue Squadrons with Kaz.
Are there Rogue Squadron aficionados in the group? Book what trilogy or whatever that was.
I used to read them.
Back in the day. I understand it's not it's that in name only, but it's not that as an adaptation or whatever. I'm just curious.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it as if it keeps the spirit of it. I'd be perfectly fine with that. That's I don't need it to be an adaptation. I would have loved it, if it was. Right.
Because they were pretty good. The books were pretty good. The Rogue Squadron series or whatever was a pretty good story.
Yeah, I used to enjoy those. That and the comic.
So what were they like for those of us who haven't?
Yeah, Tony. What did they do?
They they used to have different missions that they'd have to go, get into. I'm trying to remember now, but it was just, it was the group, and they were just out flying different missions for the Republic that they'd get into. They were kind of patrolling, if I remember, some of them, and it was about then you'd lose some of the members, so it was about, how would I kind of Top Gun-ish.
A-team? Top Gun A-team?
Yeah, A-team kind of. Yeah, I guess you could say that,
But you had to lose people, so right, it had to be
You had to lose people. Yeah, there were people that, you'd lose here and there, people.
Were they wearing red shirts?
No.
Why is that funny?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I read...
Just had to get the reference in.
Well, I had to.
Some of the first ones I remember I read, and then the comic I remember reading too. But now I'm gonna have to pull those out because it's been a while. But Wedge was the main guy He
that's
was
where
like
the
the
love
leader.
for Wedge comes from. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they have aliens and like?
Yeah. Yeah. They had some of the pilots were other species
A
and
Quarren and a Montcalm, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember.
Wow.
Well, so it has the
Nice.
potential, right? You know, it has the meat on the bones to be
It's
some
kind-
subject
yeah.
matter that could be quite fun for us all.
I wonder how much
They-
of like the resistance kind of stuff they might use in that.
If any of
Is
you
that-
read
those characters.
the Poe Dameron comic, you know how it kind of they
No.
focused on like Snap and
Snap!
And his wife and like there you go. It was
Hmm.
kind of sort of like that, focused on them and they had missions that they had to do but definitely I mean I think it could be good and I think if they do it depending how post Rise of Skywalker they go, they could bring Wedge back as kind of the mentor.
The guy that gives out the missions and then they fly.
The
and
missions, or something like that.
All
That'd
right.
be interesting.
But what is the threat going to be? I mean, post sequel trilogy.
I think it's going to be. See, for that, I kind of feel it's going to be kind of not unlike the Mandalorian is right now, in the sense that it takes place after the fall of the Empire, and there's a lot of cleaning up to do. There's other little, factions that they need to go after. Other Moffs probably. There's probably going to be some kind of that stuff, just kind of going out and letting them, I don't know, take out whatever remaining First Order or.
Or you have the
Sith-
Black Sun. You could have that mob element type of thing, whatever. They're just having to clean things up or whatever.
or hunt down Sith Eternal, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
well.
it'll probably gear itself towards combat as opposed
So are you
to.
assuming there's no lightsabers going to be in that movie? Like no
There's got to be,
Jedi?
right? A Jedi pilot.
Imagine a
Or-
lightsaber on the end of the end of the X-ring.
It's Rudolph.
I think it just really depends how soon after Rise of Skywalker it takes place, because right after Rise of Skywalker, pretty much the only lightsaber was Rey at that time.
Yeah. The Mandalorian kind of set up that patrolling X-wing type thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it'll dovetail nicely, But it's a movie, right? It's going to be a movie.
It's a movie, yeah.
I just wonder if it's factions of First Order and all this kind of stuff. You're just going to get what's going to differentiate it from like what's the other one called? Help me out. The Rangers of the New Republic. I think it's going to be almost exactly the same sort
It's
of
got to
thing,
be.
isn't it?
It's got to be era. It's got to be
Yeah.
a difference in era, right?
No Empire. No
Ca-
Empire.
Well, the
Harry-
different. You know what? I was thinking like the Rangers is kind of a series, so there's more. But like they keep referring to the movie, the Rogue Squadron. It's going to be more like a Top Gun.
Mm.
So it'll probably be just one singular threat that they need to take out, or that comes up that they
Right.
Yeah,
Was
and
it
I
gonna
think I heard too the phrase "new recruits." I think that's probably the way they're going with it, with the characters anyway.
Yeah, and with
So
that
it'll be
model,
about
it has the
training
potential.
them, and then the threat will arise. That will be their first test, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, and it has the model then to be a series or be a multiple movies. They they could tell they continue to tell things. Should it be when it's successful? Not should it be successful, but when it's successful and a hit, they could continue to tell some Rogue Squadron type stories. Perhaps there's a lot of potential with that. I think a lot of potential with that.
I'm hoping that it's more like a Battlestar Galactica style scenario where we've got a small
Like that.
squadron and there's some scenario where they can't get new recruits, so they're trying to save as many of their pilots as they can. But obviously, there's some kind of recurring threat that they're needing to try to stem. But I just can't see how it would work in a film like that, unless it's something more like an old war movie, like Battle of Britain or something like that. But it's the era that's going to define it, isn't it? Because if it's post Rise of Skywalker, I'm not sure what.
That's interesting. Put the era of post Rise of Skywalker in the title, Rogue Squadron. That are they not the New Republic or whatever. The resist, that's going to be interesting to see.
But there is no New Republic, is there? Technically, I suppose. They're all wiped out by the Starkiller stuff.
Yeah,
Is that what makes him rogue?
We've got no idea what the post Rise of Skywalker.
The galaxy could be an even worse state post.
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker.
Well, I think that's where there's a lot of room for building stuff. You need to build up a new squadron of fighters. So
I just think it needs to be defined. I'm just worried that it's just going. In some ways, it's not worried. I mean, it's probably still enjoy it anyway. But not these different films and TV series in different eras. The boundaries and the definitions need to be well established, so that you don't get anything feeling like it's a little bit like.
Well, I think that's going to be the issue with it, because this film, it's about Rogue Squadron, right? Which we know is going to be a group of starfighter pilots, but if it's post Rise of Skywalker, it's going to have this secondary purpose where it's going to need to establish this era.
Yeah, exactly right. I think you guys touched upon it a little bit. This new threat. I mean, maybe this movie is the first kickoff of this whole new era. Like Matt just said, right? And these pilots, untested pilots, we're going to get introduced to them, and then this is going to be their beginning of their arc with this new threat, which, like I said, opens the door for whatever else is to come in this new era.
What could possibly be the new threat? Another galaxy buster, or
no? It would have to be of the First Order.
Not necessarily, but it's also like that whole thing. That's a perfect. I was thinking that, William, that this might be the beginning film or the beginning step towards building like the post Skywalker saga Star Wars universe. You know what I mean? And also building it almost like I hate to always say it, to go back to this, but kind of like the Marvel universe. This is like the first movie. This is like the Iron Man. Yep. And then you'll have like another movie that takes place in that era, and then another one, and then you build them up, all leading to like an end game. Maybe they're gonna do that type of thing with Star Wars now, where
this could be a start.
It's not always gonna be like each trilogy or each thing is gonna be like a universe, galaxy-wide battle. But they're gonna build to it where at the end of the storyline they build to one film or two films. That tells that, but you get all your characters across various different
build to some other trilogy, some other anchoring trilogy, not necessarily episodes.
Trilogy.
You get a bunch of lone standing films building towards the trilogy, where that's where the huge battle.
So the Rogue Squadron is a bit like or something. Yeah. So the Rogue Squadron is a bit like a Rogue One sort of thing, a thinner or a building towards, like not for it does now. To the original trilogy.
Yeah, or like if to use the Marvel universe, like Rogue Squadron will be like Iron Man. It's the first film that kind of kicks everything off. It's very heroic.
Establish the setting,
Establish the setting. Then you get like a Thor film, which might be like a Jedi film. It's a Jedi film. So you've got your fighter pilots. Now you got your Jedi. Then you get like another one that's the Captain America, which is like the soldiers. You know what I mean? So you get all these different things in Star Wars universe post.
Okay, I like it as long as we don't get an Iron Man 2 like film.
That's the problem. That will be a problem for them, is if this Rogue Squadron, pardon the pun, doesn't get off the ground, right? So if that is indeed their plan, then this, but I do feel like they don't have all their eggs in one basket, because they've got this Taika thing happening, right? And of course there's the Disney Plus, but it'll be interesting to see if the Taika era film is actually the Dawn of the Jedi thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, when they made, I don't know Marvel too well. When they did Iron Man 1, they didn't necessarily know they were going to make this big, giant Avengers Endgame type of thing. So when they made Iron Man 1 that was a success, they went to we got to make a 2. And then somewhere along the lines is where they realize, oh, we got to fix to, or somewhere, somewhere later, I guess, is where they realize, wait, let's build a Marvel universe and do all these things and have it tie in at the end, whatever. So I think they won't make that mistake here. They see that formula and, right, as you said, put it out there that, right, you could have all these shows, all these episodes, these movies or series and movies, and then, right, it would be very awesome to then tie it into some anchoring trilogy, if you will, that would be something later down the line that sort of ties in, doesn't tie up loose ends, but ties it all together in some great cinematic event of sorts or whatever that could be very, very cool. Could have a Ray, it could be episodes 10, 11, 12, could have Ray in it and those to help tie up whatever we've seen and all that. There very well could be a solution there that's akin to that Marvel universe building type of thing.
We could see, an established new republic, I guess it would have to be, like some kind of new government, and then maybe like a new, bad force user trying to overthrow that, like slowly building up towards like an endgame type of movie, It
would be nice to see someone a little bit different. We always had, good guys become dark and fall, and then their redemption and all that. In some respects, it's. When you go back,
or maybe not a guy, not, I don't want to say a guy, but maybe not a singular entity. That let's say the next anchoring trilogy is the good side versus the bad side. That it's not a defeating of an emperor or a Thanos type of scenario. It's the good has to overcome the evil, and it's not quintessentially boiled down to one thing. I don't know if that can be done in storytelling or in a way, because we all know it to be Thanos and the Emperor, and there's always the villain, the big boss at the end of the.
Like Thanos is like one villain in the whole Marvel universe, so there's bunch of them. So I mean, that's just the one they can focus on. So like, you can do that with.
But the storytelling model lends itself to there's got to be the big boss at the end. So how do you do that as a group?
I think they are definitely. Even without Rogue Squadron, the foundation for an other enemy, not necessarily the Sith, not necessarily Emperor Palpatine coming back. They can face an out of galaxy enemy where all of a sudden the New Republic is able to get everybody under the banner of fighting this outside enemy. And in the old books, and Lucasfilm and Disney seem to have been not shy about dipping into the ODU stuff to borrow ideas. So the Yuuzhan Vong, which is a Klingon-like warrior race from outside the galaxy that we know, comes in and just starts in the Outer Rim and just starts taking stuff over until they get to Coruscant. So Rangers of the New Republic and Rogue Squadron and the rise of whatever Taika Waititi's gonna do, all of that kind of lends itself to a different kind of enemy than what we know. It seems to be it seems prudent to move away from for Disney anyway, to move away from the Star Wars traditions. I mean, I don't think they can match up with what's come before. So to start something new somewhere along the lines of the Marvel, the Avengers Initiative, or things that have worked in the past as far as filmmaking, I think it makes sense for them to do that.
I think this is finally now Lucasfilm and Disney have a clean slate now. They can finally start doing what they want to. They couldn't do back when, they couldn't do that back, when they did the acquisition, because like you still had, Luke hanging around, you still had, Leia and all that stuff. So now they can move on from that and finally start a new villain, start a new hero, start a new whole, regime and all that stuff. And,
the High Republic. Yeah. The High Republic and the Rogue Squadron series can kind of bookend the Skywalker saga and the Lucas era of Star Wars, and just move.
Because even when
on.
TFA was going to come out and Aftermath came out, you had this idea that was being pushed of wild space. The government was, no more, and we're kind of seeing that in Mando now. But now you could do that again, but actually show it on screen.
Sure. The whole underworld aspect of the Book of Boba and things like that. You can easily kick off.
I mean, there could still be remnants of the First Order hanging around too, and they can take them out, and that could be the first movie, to finally tie up the loose ends and another battle of Jakku that we actually can see on screen.
Yeah, you find out that the remnants of the First Order have been assembling outside of wild space, not to attack the galaxy, but to fight the enemy from outside. And it's we were wrong all this time. We thought they were gonna resurge back into the galaxy and try to oppress, the citizens of the Republic. But it turns out that they're trying to fight this enemy that is unstoppable. And Thrawn is out there doing his thing,
Probably like 100 years old.
Yeah. Who knows how Chiss age?
Yes. I'm just thinking. Just trying to think about it. Don't say anything else to say about that one. No, nobody there. Nobody still there.
That's all right.
I'm just trying to process it all. Just trying to think about. I just want something different for this. What comes afterwards. You think from the sequel trilogy, you think all the way back. It's always about. Well, I suppose life generally is about rise and falls, but it's always been Jedi have always been there somewhere. I don't know whether they just go for someone a little bit different, totally different, going into this.
Well, I think they will, but
the Force is the Force exists even without Jedi, I guess.
I think they will go somewhere different, but I worry that as soon as we get something different, people are like, go back to the Empire, go back to the First Order. It's just we can't win.
I think it depends. I think it depends on execution, and a lot of intent. What's the intent behind what you're doing here? I think that's the thing that rubs people the wrong way. I mean, there's always going to be trolls and haters, but I think if people see that you're treating something that you love and you're doing your very, very best, and you're not cynical and you're not jaded and you're not treating people like crap, I think that people are willing to forgive. Ron talks about how we give Star Wars a pass. I think Star Wars gets a pass depending on attitude and goodwill. And who sticks around for 40 plus years for dialogue in Star Wars? It's not the dialogue. It's the spirit of the thing. George Lucas, even though he was secretive and he contradicted himself a bunch of times over the years. For any of us who've been around long enough, you can see where the contradictions come, where he's kind of course correcting or trying to fill in gaps. We can all see that, but it's forgivable because we understand what he means to do, And in the end, this is a singular artist trying to put out his vision.
Well, the cynicism
comes in. I always attributed his changing thing. He just wasn't the uber fan that we, he didn't necessarily dive into his own universe and know the minutia inside and out like we do. So when he would say something that sort of contradicted what he said before, or where he was before, is just because he didn't, he didn't live it and breathe it.
He's not that precious. Yeah. He was on stage with Jon Stewart when he asked him about where the planet Kenobi came.
Like, Stu John. Wait, don't make it up on the spot. We wanted to have some thought into it.
Exactly.
This is what it is. And we have
Stewart's reaction. Jon Stewart's reaction was mine, So I was like,
it was everybody's, but we had to accept it because it was, all right, there it is.
I mean, I'm just thinking they've got enough different eras to cater for everybody. So if they do this new stuff after sequel trilogy and people don't really like that world, then they've got, you've got plenty of other
They
stuff
do,
in different
but as
eras
soon
to
as they
please
put
everybody.
the Star Wars title on something and it's 5,000 years, before A New Hope or something, whatever, the lay fan, the common fan, just those people are going to go to this, take their kids to the Star, or go to the Star and be like, wait, what? What's going? So they run. Not the risk, but they have to tread that in a manner that works, because when you throw the Star Wars label around any of it, that part of the movie-going fan base can get confused, or it could, needs to be informed properly ahead of time. Let's say they had that with the sequel trilogy, or they had that with Rogue One, going, wait, who's Jen? I thought she was Leia.
Leia's mom. Yeah.
So for us, we're going to know that it's 5,000 years in the future, and it's the origins of the Force and how a lightsaber the first one was ever built and all that sort of stuff. But for that general movie-going audience, for that lay fan that likes Star Wars and knows it, but doesn't know it like us and talking about it on a Sunday, they could be a little confused by having the Star Wars wrapped around the title of something.
So do you think that Star Wars should be accessible to everyone, right? There should. My friend took his mom to see, I think it was Attack of the Clones, and she's completely removed from the Star Wars experience. So he says that he wanted, one of the things that makes him not like the prequels is that she went in there looking for Han Solo and Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker, because it said Star Wars on it. And he was like, "No, Ma, this is like 100 years before this, then, or whatever it was." And so that's where you run the risk, like you said, Ron. Do you cater to general audiences to make it palpable?
Palpable.
If the story works and doesn't require or rely on a bunch of other knowledge, it'll work and it'll be successful and it'll be fun.
And that's
the trick. Exactly. That's the key.
So if you can watch Solo and see it as a standalone, not dependent on what you already know about this character and this galaxy, and you tell a good story, that's I think that's the way to do it. Star Wars.
I was going to say that the new movies kind of, general audience kind of accepted it more than some Star Wars fans.
I agree.
So
100%.
The other thing I wanted to say here too was, like it or not, guys, but we're all getting old. Mm-hmm. So these people that
I definitely don't like it.
Me either.
These people that are looking for Han, Luke, and Leia, like, dude, that was 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago. So we've just got the Mandalorian is the peak of pop culture right now. Little baby Grogu, like, he's taken over. So I think this whole idea of like people getting confused is valid, but with 10 shows and how many more movies are we going to get now in the next few years? Like, I don't know. I think people are just going to gravitate to whatever Star Wars they like, and that's their Star Wars, right?
That's an incredibly awesome point. You're right. The people that I was referring to are definitely going to be of an older mindset. So, they're not necessarily going to be confused. And when you brought that up, it just struck me, those people that I talked to when they said something about my mask or whatever and how they were young. You're right. The Mandalorian is pop culture. That's Star Wars to them, or that's... they're getting into it there, and it's about story, and what more do they get into it? How deeper do they dive? What movies do they go watch? Whatever. So you're right. We are getting older, and what we think of as Star Wars might be different because a new generation is having the Mandalorian and Grogu as is what it means to have the Star Wars moniker. That's a
there's definitely a burden that we as older Star Wars fans carry with us. For instance, the only new show that I'm concerned about is Lando, because he's a legacy character. But as far as everything else, Andor and Ahsoka, Ahsoka's a legacy character, but she can do so many things. She's so open air right now that she can go in any direction, and I won't really say, well, that's against character. That doesn't make sense. So I see it. I when I think about Star Wars, I think about myself, and then I think about the health and welfare of this franchise. And at some point, I just felt like, after the end of the Skywalker saga, I was like, do whatever you want. It doesn't bother me anymore. I'm not seeing my ex-girlfriend with some guy anymore at a party. It's just some person that I used to know, and I don't even know who she is anymore. So if she wants to hang out with the motorcycle club, or go and have egg cream sodas in the diner on the corner with Biff, I don't care. It's
Screw you, Biff.
Did you just call me a chicken? So I'm able to, and I think this is the thing, right? A lot of us see Star Wars and we're possessive of it, as we should be. You can't ask us to care about these characters for 40 plus years and then say, oh, by the way, this isn't what you expected it to be, and you've been wrong the whole time. That's not cool. But
Alex, but you know what? That's why attachments are forbidden.
The what? Oh, yeah.
That's why attachments are forbidden.
But look, but you can't ask, if Obi-Wan was saying, look at Padme, isn't she hot? Why don't you go for that? And the whole time, she likes you, dude. Why don't you? And then afterwards, he's like, why did you get attached? I would be like, Obi-Wan, you're a real jerk. So, 40 years of this fandom, you can't help but get attached. There's something that happens beyond the screen, beyond the storytelling, where you can look at Luke Skywalker, when you look at Han Solo, and you say, this guy's like me. This is, I forget I forget a while back we were talking about representation in Star Wars, and some people are iffy about that, but I get it. I understand. You can't be left behind by history. You can't be left behind by time, right? Because the world is moving on. The world is progressing. You can't be a dinosaur, right? So along that same line of thinking, if you want people to care about your characters, then when people care about what came before, you can't dismiss it.
Yeah, and there's no real known characters when The Mandalorian started.
Exactly.
There was like nobody. You didn't know anybody in there. There was no Han. There was no Luke. There was no Leia. There was no Obi-Wan. There was no Darth Vader. No Emperor. There was like none of that. You know what I mean? It was in the universe, but none of those people.
Everybody.
Well, but even the thing is that even though they're bringing in familiar characters, they're all secondary. They're secondary characters.
Thank you.
What I mean?
They're
secondary.
I think to your point is they didn't hang
Luke is a secondary
the
character.
They didn't. Well,
Luke
but they
was on
didn't hang
screen
the
for like
season.
1
That's what he's trying to say. They didn't hang the whole thing on these characters. They hung it on the Mandalorian, and it's this new character. They brought them in. They brought Fett in. They brought Luke in. But that wasn't the crux of what was going to make it watchable. We watched it because it was something new, and it was the Mandalorian of the story. And sure, they went. I say that they get they went to those easy beats, if you will, of those characters, but they made it work. They told a story. They didn't just make content. They found a way to tell a story that works in the timeline, in the era, adds to what we already know, confuses to what we already know. But that's Star Wars storytelling, and did it beautifully. And gave us a series that was completely new to us, character-wise, but eventually, work some of those in. We haven't discussed has everybody seen the gallery for the Mandalorian?
We ain't got much time left either. We're over time, but I have seen it.
I saw it. It was really good.
I think I got maybe 20 minutes left.
We need to discuss it, but I think Filoni is a governor to Favreau. Favreau is a fanboy to some extent, not deep into it like Filoni, and wants to do things, and Filoni has to rein him back in. That McClunky bit of dialogue, and then there was another bit of dialogue where Filoni's like, but this is the but he didn't do it with it where he wanted to. Filoni reined him in, because my God, if you do it there, the fans are going to go crazy. There was another bit of a dialogue where he's like, but this is the Boba Fett aesthetic everybody knows, like the fan,
the walk, the stand, The way he stood.
Fanboy, no, it was the aesthetics of the uniform of the armor. And the fanboy Favreau wanted to, get it cleaned up or whatever. And I think Filoni's like, no, this is what everybody knows. This is what it needs to look like. You want to get to that clean, fresh paint thing, do that later or something or whatever. Yeah, I really think if it was just Favreau, that series could be completely different off the rails or a little bit of like, oh my, who let the
fanboy and
who let the just because he's a high profile director doesn't mean he should be making Star Wars. I just that was my takeaway in watching Gallery.
But see, I think I totally agree with that, and I think that any singular person controlling Star Wars doesn't seem to be that successful. Like even Lucas, I felt even Lucas, like when he the prequels, it was all him, right?
Yeah.
But then you move past the prequels and then you do like say Clone Wars, and Clone Wars was kind of, it was other people doing it but under his guidance. And like then I felt like it was very successful. It was like his kind of guidance of things, but other people were doing it. And I felt
there was
like
questions to the was that how that would work? Whereas right in the prequel trilogy, what Luke said, nobody really questioned it. Nobody that really
it's when it's a collaboration. When it's a collaboration that I feel Star Wars is more successful.
Yep.
You have to have a visionary, but it can't just be that person's
that vision.
word.
Yeah, you got to have someone.
Yeah, it has to be a collaborative effort with a strong visionary.
Well, look at
that's
OT.
when Star Wars is more successful.
A lot of the OT was Marshall Lucas's, input. And
I mean, we gave
editing.
the OT to Lucas, but really the OT was very collaborative.
Yeah, that History of Star Wars book is just a great audio book or just a great book. And that really speaks volumes to what you're saying, that the Star Wars works when it's a visionary, but it has a collaborative aspect.
Yeah, you need the vision, but you need to see it through under, with collaboration.
Well, I think in the industrial world, or just in technological terms, they say that good technology is akin to magic. Right, it works so well that you don't really understand how it works, but it's something that you can make and something that you can put your hands on. I think it's the same. I agree with you 100%, Ron and Tony. Lucas is a genius, but unfiltered genius is close to madness, right? So you definitely need somebody to hold the spigot, of the thought well that's coming
and
out.
I think that's why Favreau and Filoni work so well, because Favreau has the excitement and he does have Star Wars knowledge,
and
but
the clout.
then like Ricky I think was saying or somebody was saying that that you got Filoni reining him in and saying no it's.
That requires.
I don't know if that's how. Do you really want to? You want Mandalorian to say McClunky? Really?
Yeah.
That scene was
I
just.
wasn't
I'm so glad it was
sure
in
how
there.
much of that was a serious conversation. It wasn't them sat down at a table discussing it.
Yeah.
That was just we just saw a brief scene them together having a bit of a laugh. I mean.
Yeah.
How much of that was as serious?
Agreed, but there was some bit of if
it was the kind of seriousness where it's serious until somebody calls you on it, and then you're like,
that's exactly.
I was just kidding.
That's exactly the scenario. Yep.
But there's a lot of
he doesn't have Filoni, and he has a bunch of yes men going, oh yeah, let's do that, and then we all be like screaming, what is going on?
There is the humility aspect, right, of Favreau to be able to look at this neophyte storyteller and Dave Filoni and say, you know what, you're right. This isn't a bad idea.
What, so had he thrown that in there, I probably wouldn't have minded it myself.
Oh, we would have all. No, that would have.
I'm sure it's going to show up at some point, because.
Yeah.
It kind of did though, didn't it? Because someone says in that.
Yeah, in the Japanese.
In that Boba Fett thing, someone.
Oh
yeah.
What's his name? Yeah, he still used it.
Yeah, you're right.
So right, he got it in, so to speak, but he didn't get the Mando shooting out the light or whatever that scene was. That was crazy. And then the other part of that takeaway was okay, so I won't get into it. It was the whole Ahsoka Rosario.
You don't that scene wasn't in Jabba's palace? Because I assumed it was that same scene with Jabba's palace
When they were discussing it, I think it was something else.
It was the first episode where he shoots out the light. He strings up the mob boss
that's
guy
what it was.
and shoots out the light so that all the things would attack him. Whatever he was supposed to shoot at, say McClunky, and shoot out the light.
Right.
And I was just like, I'm so glad that didn't happen.
But Bib Fortuna does say it at the end of the rescue. Somebody's coming down the steps and he says McClunky.
That's right.
And so it's so weird. What the hell does McClunky mean?
Well, that's for us to discuss. Anyhow, we're well over time, and we need to go back to real worlds and stuff. I suppose, unfortunately.
No. Back
I
to
know
real
it's
life.
terrible. I was going to say the only other thing from that. Oh, go on here. The only thing from that gallery thing that surprised me was the fact that the what are they called? The Dart Troopers are actually people in them.
Yeah, I was surprised.
I just thought that was all CGI completely. I did not expect to see that they got all those people dressed up and all that armor and stuff.
So well done.
It's only the action,
So well
it's only
done.
some of the pipes and other moving bits, but they CGI'd in.
That was a big surprise. And the pink shorts guy. Who thought
Yes,
of that?
that was awesome.
Yeah.
I definitely took a screenshot. I took a picture of that going, holy crap, what that guy is. And I think that speaks volumes to the Mandalorian. And I thought the same thing as they're showing the show. All the artists and workers and everybody that's doing the behind the scenes people that I don't know any other names, but they're putting love, care, and energy that, they're all fans putting in a lot of detail into something that will never be seen, or I didn't notice on screen at all, but I know I appreciated it because it was in there kind of thing, whatever. That's another part of the success, I think, that is the Mandalorian. They're not just farting out content, they're making Star Wars.
How can that kind of goodwill not win, right? That's
Well, if the story's no good, you can put all the love and detail you want into things, but if you're saying McClunky as you shoot out the lights, then
well, it's never one thing, right?
Yeah.
But Pink Shorts was very welcome.
We'll call it a day.
It's a day. Guys.
We shall return next month for more. And the final word, obviously, is McClunky.
Happy New Year, Stephen.
Cheers. Happy New Year, Senator.
Happy New Year.
Stay safe, everyone.